James Henderson! Hello, Exclusive Resorts! Great to meet you, and thank you for all you do for making my life and my family's life better.
Welcome to A Life Well Lived, where we pull back the curtain on the extraordinary lives of our remarkable members. I'm James Henderson, CEO of Exclusive Resorts. For me, travel's never been about the destination, it's always been about the company you keep. Over the years, I've crossed paths with some of the world's most fascinating, well-traveled individuals, each bound by a singular pursuit: to live not just well, but exceptionally. Their stories aren't just worth telling, they're worth learning from. Because in the end, it's not about where we go, but how we choose to live. In this episode, Jimmy DiMatteo, a highly decorated naval aviator and entrepreneur, shares his incredible journey from flying fighter jets to building successful businesses. As a former commanding officer of the adversary program at Top Gun, Jimmy has more hours training at Top Gun than any other pilot, and he still instructs at Top Gun today. In this episode, Jimmy reflects on his 25-year career in the Navy, where he amassed over 5,000 flight hours in aircraft like the F-14 and F-18, and earned accolades for his precision and leadership. Jimmy discusses the grit, teamwork, and humility that define the world of naval aviation, and how these lessons have translated into his civilian life. From directing events like Oshkosh and managing the Red Bull Air Races to opening award-winning restaurants and launching his upcoming vodka brand, Jimmy exemplifies the ethos of fly hard, play hard. With reflections on family, mentorship, and the legacy of his late 102-year-old father, who was also a naval aviation legend, this conversation offers a compelling blend of inspiration, adventure, and the pursuit of excellence. I'm really excited this week to have Jim DiMatteo with us, one of our Exclusive Resorts members, and I'll ask Jim to introduce himself a little bit.
Well, thank you, James. I'm excited to be here, be part of this podcast. My name is Jim DiMatteo. I'm a proud Exclusive Resorts member, but also a proud naval aviator. So lots to talk about naval aviation.
It's great to have you on. So I want to start off with a quote that I read from you, and you said, "My father is my hero and the man I admire most on the planet." Tell me about your father and tell me about how he inspired you.
So yeah, that quote, I've probably said that many times because he really is my hero, my idol as a human being, but also as a father, as a naval aviator, as an officer, as a grandfather. He's really been a big part of my life. He is still with us at 100, just about to turn 102 years old. So it's a testimony to his old Italian grit that keeps him going, and I feel extremely fortunate to still have him in my life. But the way he and my mom raised us was classic Italian, big Italian family, and he's just one of those solid guys that never does. Just always doing the right thing for the right reason. And both he and my mom, but especially my father, I'd say to myself, it's my kind of reality check.
Yeah.
Is would my dad do this? Mm-hmm. And if the answer was no, then I probably shouldn't do it either.
That's a very cool way to live.
Not saying that I've always done that, but he's a good inspiration. So he's made a big impact on my life.
So was your father supportive of you being a pilot?
He was incredibly supportive, but he was also very cautious. My older brother is also a naval aviator, and he did not want to dictate or put pressure on me or my older brother to become naval aviators. If we chose that path, so be it. He would be very supportive, but he was no way in this in the sense of like him pushing us to go do that. And now that I'm a father, I'm very, very appreciative of that, because now my son, he's got a grandpa, an uncle, and a dad, all naval aviators. Yeah. There could be a lot of pressure, and I'm doing exactly what my father did to me, which is like, hey, you chase your dreams, you do what you want. If you want to go down this path at some point in your life, I'll be there to support you, but don't feel any pressure. So that's an example of his support for me, and that I'm carrying on to my son.
I want to come back to your father a little bit later as we go into this, but so you spent 25 years in the Navy, 5,000 hours you amassed in 5 different fighter aircraft, F-18, F-16, F-14, F-5, and A-4. You were the U.S. Navy F-14 Fighter Pilot of the Year. You were the U.S. Navy Adversary Pilot of the Year. Top hook for the best landing grades on an aircraft carrier, which is incredibly impressive. Top Training Command Jet Pilot of the Year, and the prestigious Britannia Award as Top Strike Jet Pilot. What are the skills that help you excel and get to that level as a fighter pilot?
Well, first, I think when you list them like that, I reflect back on it, and there was a lot of luck and timing and just being in the right place at the right time. I'm fortunate in naval aviation. In large part, 98% of the guys and gals are rock solid aviators and people. So any one of them could have had that same attribute cast on them. But I think from a general perspective, what is the common denominator of somebody who's doing well in aviation? Part of it, I think, is DNA. It's the right stuff. If you remember that old movie, it's genetic.
Yep.
I don't know exactly what it is, but spatial awareness, your muscle reflexes, your attentiveness, your attention to detail, those types of DNA characteristics, if you will, tend to align with guys and gals that are doing well in tactical aviation. I think 3D spatial awareness, maybe 4D, so it's X, Y, and Z axis, but then also you have to put time and movement in there as well. You can't really teach those things. People just either have them or they don't. So part of it is DNA. The other part, I think, is your persistence, your grit, your commitment to keep going and, overcoming adversity and pushing yourself to continually improve. We, in naval aviation, we brief, we fly, and then we debrief. And in a debrief scenario, you want to call it constructive criticism, I guess, but it's very, very directive to try to improve, because the only thing we're trying to do is be better tomorrow than we were today. So you need that grit, that determination, that commitment to excellence to keep pushing yourself. So you get a little bit of DNA, you get a lot of commitment and grit and persistence, and that usually, hopefully, will result in doing well.
You and I have known each other for, I think, just over a year now, and developed a very nice friendship. And one of the things that really struck me when we first met was your humility. And I had a chance that you very kindly arranged to go out on the Carl Vinson 6 or 8 weeks ago and spent 24 hours on the carrier, which was one of the most amazing things I think I've ever done in my life. It was absolutely incredible. And here we are in a ready room. But the cool thing about that was I got to meet a number of the aviators who were out there, and I met the XO, who obviously is an accomplished aviator, the CO. And the thing that really struck me about that was just the fact that these are really authentic, humble, very thoughtful, very collaborative individuals, and nothing like you perhaps see in the movies, right? You think there's this level of arrogance that fighter pilots have, but it was nothing like that. Can you sort of explain a bit more about that? Because I think that also plays into the whole, the debriefing and the fact that you have this, this very candid sort of radical candor when you debrief in these environments.
Sure. So first, what is our mission? What is our real goal as naval aviators? It's for the United States. We're out on an aircraft carrier like this, and we're projecting power. We're doing what our country's asking us to do, whether it's offensively or defensively. So it's not about us as an individual. There has to be, in the fighter pilot world and landing on aircraft carriers, you do have to have a bit of self-confidence. You have to. But that's a balancing act. You don't want to be overconfident. You don't want to be arrogant. You need to be a team player. This is a squadron. This is a squadron ready room. And a squadron is exactly like a team, a football team, a rugby team, a baseball team, where it's not about your individual performance. It's about your collective performance as a squadron. So very quickly, if you are a person that is more concerned about your own personal objectives and goals, the naval aviation world will squash you. We won't let people like that get through, because it's not about their individual accomplishments. It's about collective accomplishments. And so being humble is important. We've seen too many times. This is a very dangerous, risky kind of occupation, and you can think that you're the greatest pilot in the world, and the ship's going to jump up and grab you, or something's going to happen. So we get continually reminded, sadly, through mishaps and accidents, that nobody's better than the chance of having something, bad happening. So it creates a culture of being a team player and not being an individual. I got to do my best. That being said, much like a baseball player, you want to have the best batting average and, the zero errors type of approach. You want to do your best individually, but it's about the collective team. And I think that exudes being humble and not having a big arrogance, not in here. In a bar, maybe you see a little bit of that. But once you get in here, if you're arrogant, we'll squash you.
So up on the wall behind us here is a chart that is all about landings, and the greens are good. I think the yellows is the middle, and the blacks are missed landings. Tell us what it's like to land on a carrier. I mean, I was amazed by this. I mean, the carrier is traveling 15 knots or something like that. The runway's angled at 9 degrees. You could have a pitching deck. We went up. We saw night operations, which is incredible. I mean, that must be a little terrifying to do that.
It is. It's what, as naval aviators, it's what we're the most proud of, because there's our Air Force brethren are fantastic fighter pilots. There's other fighter pilots in the rest of the world, and I'm sure they have wonderful skill sets. That being said, we land on aircraft carriers, and that sets us apart from that F-16 or F-15 guy from the Air Force. It's what we have to do every single time we come back. And so it was interesting. I remember there was a study in Vietnam, and it had they did some senses on the bodies and on the mind, and the fighter pilots they had more anxiety in landing on the ship at night than they did in combat.
That's crazy.
And because of the stress levels, et cetera, you're actually closer to something bad happening. And so you have to be able to handle that stress and that environment to continually do well. So landing on so this is called a greenie board, and we put it up there so that there is peer pressure. So you walk in the door, everybody walks in the door, they look right over, they see the name, and they can go. So my call sign's Guido. It's like, hey, how's Guido doing? Yeah, he's doing, he might not have done, there could have been, there's this external pressure, an environment, a culture, a climate that says we're not going to let up on putting pressure on each other to continually do our best, because it only takes 1 second not to be doing your best that something catastrophic can happen. So it is the most challenging. The daytime landings, eventually you get good at, and they get very competitive. That's very competitive. You want to be the top of that. Yep. That's the top hook, top 10.
So that's where you got your top hook.
I was just lucky. But
keep saying that, I don't think that's true.
Well, the nighttime, if people start saying they feel comfortable at night, then you got to worry, because the nighttime is a whole nother world. And it's getting better and better. It's more automated now with the new advanced jets. But if you mentioned my father earlier, he landed on a carrier like this just with nothing. and still at night. In
Yeah,
fact, he did
yeah.
one tour as what they call the night fighters.
Yeah.
So the whole 6 months, he just flew at night, which is crazy. But we do that from a strategic perspective because a lot of the world is not as sophisticated from a military capability, and so that gives us an advantage.
Yep.
If we can
Yep.
fight at night and they can't as well, then that gives us an advantage. So we push hard to do that. And a typical day on this aircraft carrier will really start around noon and go to midnight. It's not a, as you know, it's not a 0800, 0700.
I remember being in, because we were on one of the top levels, and like at 12 o'clock at night, they were still landing on the deck. You could hear the wires going. It was incredible.
Yeah, every night.
So you saw combat during Desert Storm, and we're sitting here in the ready room, which is exactly the environment that you were in before those missions. I'm curious, how did you deal with sort of the fear and the stress of that, remain focused on the mission, and what were the things that were going through your mind before something like that? Because that's a really intense environment to be in, isn't it?
It is. I would give credit to just the environment of naval aviation, and I'm sure the Air Force is like this as well. They have a lot of experience of doing this, and the way the training environment works is to prepare you for that situation. And I make an analogy often about creating muscle memory. And I think of like baseball, where you're going up there and you're taking hacks and hacks and hacks and hacks and hacks all the time as a batter in batting practice and then during games, so that when you get to the World Series and it's the bottom of the ninth and everything's on the line, you have already established yourselves. You've created that muscle memory. You've created that environment, and you have a bit of self-confidence with you saying, I'm going to be able to go through this mostly off of muscle memory and repetition. And that helps you get through the combat stress and landing on carriers at night, et cetera, and other situations that maybe are challenging. But that's definitely, I felt very prepared. The first time I was in combat, it was kind of like, it was almost when I came back and landed that I was like, holy cow, that was my first time I've been shot at. Versus being shot at and freaking out at the time. It was like, nope, I did exactly what I was supposed to do and was trained to do. So credit to the training environment for naval aviation. And then it was after the fact, sitting on in the ready room or on your bunk, going like, wow, okay, that was, I can't believe that just happened.
And do you credit that, I mean, the mental resilience that you have and sort of the toughness that you have, do you credit, is that really a result of the training? Is that what gets you to that, or is that part of the DNA? Is that where does that come from?
Is the cart or the horse? I'm not sure. Do guys with that capability make it through the program? Or does the program help you develop that capability? I think it's probably a little bit of both. It's probably, you have to have that genetic disposition coupled with the training environment is going to hone those skills so that you are ready when you need to be ready.
So when you prepare for these missions and you're sort of in your bunk thinking about it beforehand, or you're preparing to go out and do one of these exercises, how do you prepare mentally beforehand? And do you visualize? Do you use visualization techniques? What do you use to make sure you're going to be successful? Do you go through things in your mind? How do you do that?
Very much so. Again, the training environment, it creates this muscle memory. I keep saying it, but it creates this comfort level of like how I'm going to prepare for a flight. We do visualize because we're fighting, we're dogfighting, we're flying. In a ready room like this, there's not one here, maybe in the back there. We use models on sticks a lot, and it's in the briefing and debriefing, it's to help visualize what it might look like at a certain aspect, whether you're talking specifically about dogfighting or even just how you want to fly formation on somebody else in different scenarios. It helps you look at something so that when you get up in the sky, you're like, yep, that's what I want it to look like. And so we do visualize a lot of in preparation to try to be ready when time comes.
And this is also all the debriefs that you do. So it's just doing it again and again and again.
Absolutely, yeah. The debrief is we call it the debrief culture.
Yeah.
And I think I speak a lot with companies.
It's
just
recently, continuous improvement, exactly right.
Yeah, and the debrief is a big part of it. A typical, like in the Top Gun world, we always make fun of it. We always get teased about it. Is you'll brief for an hour, you'll fly for an hour, and then your debrief might be 5 hours long.
That's amazing.
So imagine that in a culture where I think normally in business, you maybe brief a little, you do something, you probably don't debrief too much. And it's kind of hard because you have to have thick skin and you have to not think it can't be personalized.
Yep.
So a lot of times in the debrief we'll say, the blue fighter did a low right-hand turn when probably it would have been better for the blue fighter to go nose high instead of saying, James, you idiot, why did you go nose low? You got yourself shot. You should have gone nose high. So there is a manner in which we debrief
impersonal.
That's to try to take the person out of it. We say take the who out of it and make it more about just a generic concept so that people don't get defensive. Now, owning bars and restaurants and other things I've done in my life, I have realized that not everybody in life appreciates constructive criticism. My wife, my kids, my other employees that work for me, you have to temper that a little bit because in an environment like this, we're very much, hey, you need to improve this, and this to try to be better tomorrow. And we take it that way. We don't take it as a personal assault.
This is clearly, if not the most dangerous job in the world, or one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. And you obviously cope with adversity in your life. You mentioned last night, we were having dinner last night, we were talking about, when you experience a loss of someone around you, it sort of inverts your priorities, I think is what you said. And how has that impacted your outlook on life?
There's a couple ways. First, I think it's very sad because I have lost lots of friends, over 50 people I know. And so for an individual, I think, like if I asked how many friends of yours have you lost, probably not that many. So when it happens, how do you deal with it? First of all, we go back to being humble. First of all, it makes you humble because that guy that just crashed and died was a great pilot. And you put yourself in that position and you're like, would I have done any different? Was he just unlucky or was I lucky? How did that happen? So you evaluate the mishap, if you will, to try to improve yourself. It's also a credit to your friend, so he doesn't die in vain, as they say, that, I'm going to learn something from him, whether it's aviation wise or just in life. And I think we all get in this situation where the minutia of life, I got to fix the door I got to fix the door jam, or I got to get my car in to get that happen, or, I need this to write this paper on this one thing. And you prioritize these things, and then the stuff at the bottom about seeing your family and going to take that special trip and that type of stuff tends to get pushed down, and the minutia tends to prioritize your life. And then you lose a close friend, and to me, that's where it inverts that. Right afterwards, you think, hey, life is short. Got 4,000 weeks on this planet, maybe.
That's right.
I don't want to waste and chase these little things and not make sure that I concentrate on the bigger, more important things as a human being. We only have a certain amount of time. We don't know how long that is.
Right.
And so that's where that it inverts it comes from. So unfortunately, if it happens over and over and over again, it is stressful. And you have to manage that stress. I will say when I was young and single, it was a little bit less. I'm not a daredevil. Most fighter pilots aren't. The movies and maybe people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, you must drive motorcycles like crazy and drive fast cars. And I'm like, actually, no, we get enough thrill in the day-to-day work that we're not out there doing this as just a thrill seeker. And so maybe you're a little bit more conservative in your personal life. But then I got married and I felt a little bit more on like close calls or whatever, like, ooh, this is now a little bit different. And then when you have children, it's a game changer.
Change perspective, of course.
And then you sit in the bunk on a ship like this. You'll sit in the bunk after a close call or after a challenging flight, and you can't help. You should, if you're a good human being, if you're a good father, kind of think about, ooh, okay, that was close. And I remember a friend of my mom's saying one time to me, is like, once I had our children, we had a baby, and she said, Jimmy, I hope you're taking care of Isabella's dad. That's my daughter. And I'm like, I thought she was teasing me, like it was like some other daughter. Yeah. And then what she really was meaning is like, once you're a parent,
you got to take care of the family.
Your job is being a parent. I don't want my kid to not have a dad. And so you tend to get a little bit more, little bit better perspective on handling risk and associated risk.
But you still have that. I mean, in the time that we've known each other, it always amazes me. You're traveling a lot. You're doing fascinating things. You're going to fun places. I think you said to me yesterday you had, when you were at Top Gun of the CIA, you had a propeller on the wall that said "Fly hard, play hard" or something. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a kind of a motto. You hear all the time, work hard, play hard. And so I had one and I made it up and it just said fly hard, play hard. Of course, we're going to fly hard because that's our culture. We're fighter pilots. We're gonna give it our all. But then the play hard part comes from just my personality. Is I like to enjoy life and go out and have fun. Now that could be playing hard, like doing something crazy, like not crazy, but like some exotic trip or something like that, which Exclusive Resorts is helping me with. But it also could be just like relaxing, and playing hard could be really relaxing in a really nice environment as well. So we tend to like sprint and then relax and sprint and relax and sprint and relax. And that's just the way that I am and my family is. And I appreciate that lifestyle because it kind of regenerates the battery, if you will, recharges it. And that's the approach that we've had. So it's like fly hard and then play hard, fly hard, play hard, and enjoy life. Because again, we don't know how long we're here.
It's very true. We don't. So you retired from the Navy in 2007, transitioned to civilian life, stayed in aviation. You're the US race director for the Red Bull International Air Races, coordinating 90 air races, which is pretty incredible. Flight operations and attractions and features Oshkosh, the biggest aviation event in the world, which is an amazing feat to coordinate something like that. And then you're the director of the Brightland Jet team for the American tour, and you also directed the most successful North American tour of the Red Arrow. So the theme there that I sort of see from that is precision, meticulous preparation, attention to detail. Talk a bit more about that part of your life and your career.
Well, I like events. I like people. My passions are aviation and having fun. And so aviation-related events is a natural segue to that. As far as leadership and how to pull those off in a safe manner, because there's risk. And so when you do a aviation event that's for the public, there's hundreds of thousands of people watching it and cameras and everything. You have to be especially cognizant of the safety aspects, not only from an event management perspective, but also from a flying perspective. There's extra pressure. You do something 100,000 times, no problem. All of a sudden, the TV is on you, and that adds extra pressure. Or there's people watching you, it adds extra pressure. So that we learn in the air show environment a lot. But hands down, the way that any of those things succeeded, Red Bull, Breitling, Oshkosh, any of that stuff, is the team.
Mm-hmm.
I was just very, very fortunate to have rock stars around me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, maybe, I felt like I was Ben-Hur, where, on a chariot where all the horses are running full speed, and I'm just kind of like maybe steering it a little bit, but the real workhorses, the real studs were all the people around me. And I was just fortunate to be, part of their leadership team.
So now you're back at Top Gun again. So now you're back training again at Top Gun, Tactical Air Support. What does a typical day look like for you doing that?
So,
or is there a typical day? Is there such a thing as a typical day? I don't know.
It's typical to be atypical.
Okay.
Right. So,
yeah.
What we've transitioned to in the military, and we tried this a lot. I was part of this effort from the active duty side for a long time. Is if you're a fighter pilot and we have to train you to be a better fighter pilot, you can do some stuff in the simulator, but some stuff you have to do airborne. And when you go airborne, you have to do your tactics, your techniques, your procedures against a perceived threat, a perceived adversary. So this adversary is going to act like, emulate, simulate, replicate what a potential threat aircraft in the world might do. So that gives you better training. And that has to be airborne. Now, internally to the Navy and the Air Force, we've done that. That's where the whole Top Gun world is, and Top Gun Adversary. A lot internally. Now, when you do that internally, you task the military to provide the pilot, the airplane, the maintenance. There's a draw on the military, the Navy or the Air Force, to supply their own adversary. So ultimately, we created this concept of commercial air services. So industry providing, and there's a couple companies in the United States that provide Top Gun adversary type support, or Red Air. We say Red Air. Blue is the NATO countries, if you will, and red is the
so you fly the red aircraft
adversaries. So we'll go up there and we'll brief in a ready room just like this, and we'll go up and we'll fly, and I pretend I'm the bad guy. And that would be very specific. We talk about three things. I fly my aircraft like the simulated aircraft, meaning turn rate, turn radius, speeds, etc. Whatever weapon system capabilities would be flown with that. And then what we call threat pilot mindset, which is I act like the bad guy, the adversary pilot. And so in their techniques and their tactics and stuff like that. So that's a professional adversary. And again, kind of a baseball analogy is in batting practice, I want to show you a curveball. I want to show you a fastball, a four seam, a two seam. I want to show you a changeup. I want to show you a knuckleball, so that you see something, you identify it, you react to it, and then you hit it. And so in the adversary world, we'll go up and we'll show you these different scenarios. And then you see it, you see what it looks like, you react to it, you hit it. And that's the kind of the approach, so that if and when something happens in real life, you can say, I've been there, done that, I've seen this before, I'm prepared, and I'm ready to take on this challenge.
And these pilots you're training, the best of the Navy, these are young servicemen in their 20s, 30s, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And they're flying F-18s and F-35s, the latest and greatest, and you're up there in an F-5, which was last built in 1990 or something like that. So that seems like a bit of an imbalance to it. You have 40 years of experience on your side.
It's
something like that.
It's a great question. And if it was dogfighting, like what we call, within the visual range, like turning, like that kind of dogfighting, there would be a significant advantage for the F-35 or the F-18 or the F-15 or the F-16. A lot of what we do now is what we call BVR, beyond visual range. So it's way out here.
How is it?
And there's certain strategies and tactics and different things. And there's certain things that are like emanating from airplanes. And so even though we have an older airframe in the F5, we have really cool stuff on it that replicates and emulates and makes us seem more like a potential adversary you would see.
And so this is so a lot of it's out of sight. Do you get
BVR, beyond visual range? So
do you get
many
in
miles
sight
away
at times as well?
Sure. Yeah. Yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Took F-35 right down the wing. So
yesterday.
2 days ago. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And so that's because we will
when
train.
You say right down the wing, what does that mean? Right down.
We merged.
How close is that?
Oh, he was pretty far. I mean, but within visual range.
Yeah.
He was, I was tallying him, he was tallying me.
Yeah.
And so we will do our training syllabus. We want to give them all different types of scenarios.
Right.
Again, curveball, fastball, et cetera. And we'll say, okay, here, this works. And you know what? I know you said you shot me, but something different didn't work right. The missile didn't go off right. The little warhead didn't go off. Something. You got to keep coming. Those types of scenarios. So we give them all the different scenarios that they could potentially see. So they train and they become better fighter pilots the next day and are better prepared should anything happen.
And how long are you up for typically doing that?
It's typically around an hour or so is our typical.
Super intense, I guess. And
yeah, I'd say it's like taking a final exam and playing in a rugby match at the same time. Because when you come back, you are mentally and physically exhausted. After fighting, because you're both mentally because of you're at 100% focus. Each finger does a different action. You have multiple radios. You're doing your tactics. You're evaluating their tactics. It's a lot of stuff that your brain is processing. And so, but there's much like if you go work out, what is it? Endorphins or whatever, you have this kind of feeling afterwards of elation. Yeah. And flying a fighter jet is like that. So even though you come back, you're sweaty, you're hot, you're exhausted mentally and physically, you're smiling and you're just like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Then you go to the bar and have a beer. And then I shot you shot me. No.
And so when you train the Top Gun pilots, how many weeks does that last? Is it several weeks or is it a few months, or how does it go?
Well, we do now in this commercial air services role, we do whatever the Navy or the Air Force asks us to do. So we will do the most advanced things to the most basic training. So when guys first come in and learn how to fly the F-18 or the F-35, we will be their adversaries, a little bit more mundane, all the way to when an aircraft carrier like this gets ready to deploy, they have to, so an individual has to get trained, and then a squadron has to get trained, and then the air wing, the whole group has to be trained, and then the air wing with the carrier has to be trained. So we'll go all the way to any one of those scenarios where we're playing the adversary role in whatever they're asking us to do. So,
and typically, what is that span of time through those different phases?
Well, when I think the fighter syllabus is like 2 or 3 weeks for an individual just going through the fighter side. A Top Gun course could be a couple months. And the turnaround cycle between an aircraft carrier coming back from cruise and going on the next cruise could be a year and a half type of turnaround training evolution. And so we play in all these different roles and we just do whatever is required of us. And it's not just taking one guy, one squadron from A to Z. There's many squadrons and many carriers and many guys and gals all over. And we do this for a week, and then next week we do that, and the following week we'll do that. So kind of back to your question, what do you do every day? It's kind of the same in the sense I go up and dogfight, but who it's against and what I'm replicating changes.
Every day. Amazing. The real maverick, boy's own stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
So I want to go back to your father a little bit. So we were talking about it a little bit earlier on, and so he saw combat in 3 wars. So he was in the Second World War. He was in Vietnam. He was in Korea, and I think you said you recently found some of his diaries from 1940 to 1945, and I'm curious what sort of what was in those diaries. What did that tell you about him that you didn't know?
It's fantastic discovery, I would say, and it's by happenstance and luck. My sister happened to send it to me. I was fortunate to be able to start up a squadron down in Key West, Florida. This squadron right here.
Yep, Sundowners.
And my dad was part of the original Sundowners way back in the early 40s, during World War II, and I was able to start up this new squadron. I just happened to be in that timing period, and we were able to convince Navy leadership that we should resurrect this squadron, because this squadron the Sundowners had kind of 1994 kind of gone away with the reduction of force at that time, and so now it was bringing it back up. And so they called, and I was their first commanding officer down in Key West. And they called, the current commanding officer called and said, "Hey, Guido, can you come down? A lot of these guys are new. They don't really know the history, the heritage, the legacy. Can you come tell them about, how this all started up again?" And I said, "Sure." So I called my sister and I said, "Hey, can you go into Dad's old stuff and just grab some of this some of this paraphernalia from his past?" And she sent me down this book. She goes, "Yeah, it's some Navy." And I thought it was like his flight log book. And so she mailed it to me, which I give her a hard time now because it just showed up in the mail in a manila envelope. But it was his diary from 1940 to 1950. And the guys back then, everybody wrote a lot, right? He wrote letters every day. And he wrote every night before he put his head on his pillow, he would write a paragraph, handwritten cursive, just in his diary. And it's spectacular. I mean, not because it's my father, but to just look at a 22-year-old kid who's in a world war and he's writing down what he sees every day.
Yeah. 22 seems so young, doesn't it, in the World War?
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe that. And it's just spectacular. It's things like even from human things like, I got a haircut by a woman for the first time, type of thing, to, hey, Bukri and I were out on the town and we met 2 swell gals, Gloria and Susie. Well, Gloria is Mrs. Bukri. That's like, I know her as Mrs. Bukri 50 years later, and here's this thing. They to the Naval Aviation side, where some things are exactly the same. Like this ready room probably looks exactly the same. These same chairs as they probably are the chairs that they used back then. Yeah. To massively different things now. And he would, like a classic day, for example, is he goes, got up, went to church. So went to church every day, had 3 hops, a gun hop, a rocket hop, and a bombing hop, played football on the beach. They were forward deploy in Kahului in Maui, and watched the movie every night. They have a movie. We call it a roll-em because we would do reel to reel. So in a squadron like this, this is the screen. It will come down. So all the pilots, it's kind of a defragging, kind of relaxing moment. You'll come in here, you'll watch the movie, although you'll hear your buddies landing at night who have to land at night that night. And then he ends with, he goes, went to church, had these flights, played football, saw a movie, It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. Really good movie. Lost 5 planes today. 2 SB-2Cs, 2 Bearcats.
And that was almost like a footnote.
It's literally flip the page. Next stage. Smith and Jones, we lost Smith and Jones or whatever. And you flip the page and then it's another stuff. And the amount of crashes and death is just staggering. If we lost 5 planes this year, we would stop and say, hey, we got to reevaluate what's going on. And this was a day. And then you flip the page and you see it again and again. And, you know, when I talk to him, if we called him right now, I'd say, hey, Pops, how you doing? He's like, I'm just lucky to be here. And I always thought that was a shtick that he always said.
Yeah.
But then I read his diary and I'm like, he really is lucky to be here.
Yeah.
And if you ask him, you know, who's the best fighter pilot, he'll tell you somebody else.
Yeah.
He won't, because he just really feels fortunate that he survived and that he was the luckiest person to come back from that. And you can see that and you can feel it in this diary.
Yeah.
So it's really, really a powerful thing. And we feel so fortunate to have seen it. Maybe write a book or a movie or something someday, because it's not about him.
Yeah.
It's about every other person during that era, all our fathers and grandfathers and mother, you know. And then the other side is I could see would write home, and they had you had your family. And I don't want to make this sound bad. You had your family that was very supportive, your mom and dad, your brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. But there was always like the girl. There was a woman, right? That I want to come home to them. And I think the women, they were writing because it was their way to support
of course,
the effort.
Yeah.
And in the way that they best could support it. So it's fun to see that play out in a diary as well. So he's super humble and again feels incredibly fortunate to be around, and reading this diary makes it all just pop.
So he's 102 now, is that right?
Yeah, just about.
And he's the last surviving sundowner of his.
He is, yeah.
Squadron.
This is he's the oldest sundowner on the planet. So when I brought the squadron back, his was VF-11.
Yeah.
We're VFC for composite. It means the adversary. Right. We're down in Key West, so it actually has a nice little logo with the sundowners, because Key West has a nice sunset. So this was the logo my dad wore on a ship like this in 1940.
Incredible story. So in 2018, you were inducted into the International Aviation Hall of Fame for lifetime achievements. And your father was inducted a couple of years later. So he must have been very proud of you to be inducted, which is incredible. But you must also have been very proud of him. And you got the chance to make that phone call. Tell me that story. That's incredible.
It was... Again, I kind of was in the right place at the right time, and feel fortunate, but it was really special to be able to share that with my dad. Not only from him seeing, he was proud of me, and I like to make him proud of me because that makes me feel good. But so I got called, they said, hey, this committee says, hey, we're going to... we've elected your father to be inducted as well, and you're the only father-son that we've ever had. And I thought, and they said, do you want to call or do you want us to call? And I said, for sure, let me call if I can. And so I called my dad and I said, hey, I got great news. You're going to get inducted in this Aviation Hall of Fame. And, he's like, why me? And I said, why you? What are you talking about? You have multiple distinguished flying crosses, a ton of air medals, 3 wars. I mean, come on, Pops. What do you mean, why you? And he goes, no, really, why me? He goes, I'm the luckiest one out of the bunch. I came home to your mom, had all you guys as children and grandchildren. Don't you think it'd be better to give this award to one of my wingmen that didn't make it home?
Incredible.
I'm like, okay, now I feel like a gut punch because, when I made it, I wanted billboards and like, hey, look at me. And here he is just, and again, if you go back to that diary, you're like, I think it's like a survivor's guilt issue. They're like, He doesn't want to be acknowledged or awarded something for being lucky, because he already feels like he's got his award. And those guys in that era, that World War II era, we say, we stand on the giants that came before us.
Yeah, of course.
That is, it's that culture, that mindset that we really, really, really respect those individuals, whether it's my father or your father or anybody else, because of that kind of mindset. So anyways, it's great. I have great pictures with him and I both in uniform. That it was just very
spectacular,
very special moment. So it's fun to share that.
I think it's all credit to your humility though as well, in the sense that you seem more proud of him being inducted than you being inducted, which is impressive.
Well, it's fun. We're both fortunate.
Yeah. So let me switch gears a little bit. So in parallel with all this, you're an entrepreneur, and you have owned and operated several award-winning restaurants, bars, and nightclubs in San Diego. And the mayor of San Diego declared March the 16th to be Jimmy DiMatteo Day in San Diego. So tell me about that. How, the duality.
It's the day before St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, so right? So you go all the way through.
That's
a good start. So how do you balance the duality of fighter pilot by day, sort of entrepreneur by weekend, or however that works? Tell me about that.
Well, the yin and yang. I think it's the balance of life. Again, work hard, fly hard, play hard. I actually enjoyed some of the rules and regulations of the military, and is great, and some of them, are a little bit more challenging. And so in entrepreneurialism, it's all on you, right? And so balancing the two actually, in my mind, helped my life a bit. It wasn't just unidirectional always. I could. It's like changing a muscle group. It's like running and then lifting weights. It's even though they're both working out, you're doing something completely different. And so I thought it actually was therapeutic for me. It was fun and it was therapeutic to be able to balance both things. And they were completely different.
Very different.
Flying a Top Gun sortie versus handling some night at the bar is a total different world.
Very different.
But fun.
So you've accomplished a ton of things in your life. It's a pretty extraordinary career you have. We have a lot of young families at exclusive resorts, and who I think will hopefully listen to this. And what can you tell them about following their dreams and not letting fear stand in the way of pursuing their dreams? What would you tell people?
Probably what I tell my own kids too, which is first, I think it was Mark Twain said, find something you love to do and never work a day in your life.
Yep.
So chase your dream.
Yep.
Whatever it is. And maybe the dream might change. It's like what you had as a teenager. I'm kind of like, I use that analogy of like, when you bowl and you have the bumper guards and the ball just kind of, the young kids will throw it down. It'll just kind of, it's like, that's how my life is. It's just, I'll go in a direction and boom, that's over here and bam. And you just, as long as you're going down a course, then just keep following a dream, and that dream might change. But just keep pressing. The other thing I would say though, is to make sure you periodically stop and enjoy life. I think even Bill Gates just said, if I had to do it over again,
absolutely, yeah,
I would have throttled back and enjoyed life. Yeah. So I was forced to appreciate that because I lost a lot of friends, and that reset my gyro, if you will, in my compass. But if I was trying to advise somebody, I'd say work hard, but then stop and relax and play hard.
Yep.
Now that could be in every week.
Yep.
5 days or 4 days or 6 days, whatever, our lives go like this. But so you work hard, but then stop.
Yep.
Relax.
Yep.
Recharge. That's healthy. It's healthy for you physically, emotionally, mentally. It's healthy for your relationships with other people. My family and my friends are everything to me. So, that takes nurturing, and that those downtimes are when you can do that. So if I was to advise a younger person, is like, man, go for it. absolutely go for whatever your dream is. Work harder than you ever have in your life, and then relax, and then go for it, and then relax.
So after all this, what is next for Jim DiMatteo? What's coming next? What's on the horizon?
Well, I mean, I hope so. We're empty nesters a little bit. Our daughter graduated from college, and she's in the investment banking world, and our son's in college right now. So for my wife and I, we'll be able to enjoy some more traveling. We love traveling, and Exclusive Resorts offers a wonderful options for us. I still am flying, so that's fun. But then I also have an entrepreneurial bug. I love, my passions are aviation and enjoying life and celebrating life. And so I did. I'm plugging this now, though.
Please.
But I'm starting a new vodka brand.
Yeah.
A line. So it's called Check Six.
And what's
vodka.
the story behind Check Six?
So Check Six is our saying. We use it all the time up in the sky to check your 6 o'clock. Check 6. So this is 12, 3, 9, and 6. And we say that as wingmen. We say that as for fun. When we're teasing each other, we say it in a social setting. You know, check 6. Look at the person behind you, etc. So it's a fun aviation fighter pilot kind of slang that we use. And so check 6. You can see the F-35 and F-18 behind me there. So that scenario. But also, you can then check 6 of the bottle. And I'll have special collections. So that
cool.
if you check the 6 of the bottle, there'll be different special collections of it. So yeah, I'll make one for Exclusive Resorts.
Oh, that's fantastic. So check 6 is the back of the bottle, and the was an F-18 on the back of that.
Yeah, and that one. So it will be fun. Again, just trying to combine my passions and enjoy life.
So when can we expect to find this?
Well, hopefully soon. It's launching this summer.
That's fantastic. Well, I look forward to having a glass of it when it launches.
I look forward to cheering with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being such an inspiration. And thank you for being such a great Exclusive Resorts member. And we look forward to celebrating and traveling with you in the future.
Well, I would say thank you. I would say that Exclusive Resorts for my wife and I and our family have been one of the most positive things that we have done. So I'm really, really happy. And if you're going back to your question about, with the younger people, like what should you do? One of the things I think Exclusive Resorts forced us to do is take those vacations, quality vacations, periodically. Because once you pay for something, you're more inclined to do it.
Yep.
So it forced us to do it, one. And then the second thing was it was quality. So do it and do it right. And that's what Exclusive Resorts has for the last almost 20 years. So thank you. And thank you to Exclusive Resorts. It's been a good ride, and we're
just getting started.
What do I still have 1,000 weeks left?
I think you have more. With your DNA, with your father 100, you've got like 2,000 weeks left.
All right. Well, that's good.
We'll work with that. But
thank you very much.
Since recording this podcast, Jim's father has sadly passed away. We dedicate this episode to the memory of Commander Dominic D. DiMatteo, an extraordinary individual whose life was a powerful testament to the resilience, positivity, and the lasting impact one person can have on others. His legacy continues to inspire all who knew him. Stories like this are a window into what makes the Exclusive Resorts community unlike any other, filled with members who live with intention and travel without compromise. With more than 400 private residences and curated experiences around the world, the club continues to redefine the art of living well. Learn more at exclusiveresorts.com.